man that's going to win this game.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. It's Thomas in the left and slipping down to the 30, to the 20, Thomas to the 10. And the pocket is good.
Ball knocked out of his hands. It bounces around. And Nick Dimmer's got it. Von Miller again. Wilson fires. Touchdown. Sutton. His second of the game.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup. Thanks so much for tuning in. Of course, I'm your host, Keith. Got Jody with us as well. Jody, how we doing, sir?
Good. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, Broncos country, right?
Welcome, Broncos country.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's noticing a little bit different background from me, I'm live from Centennial, Colorado. If you've been checking out the Denver Bronco Roundup page, I've been on my 12-and-a-half-hour trek to get down here to the motherland, to the promised land, what is Broncos country, for training camp. So glad I made it and excited for tomorrow. Should be real fun. So,
yeah, should be a packed house.
Man, I tell you what, I know I've never been. This is going to be time number one for me. But from what I heard, when Peyton Manning came to town, that place got packed. And we've got a Peyton Manning-like quarterback in town, don't we, buddy?
Let the Russell Wilson era begin.
It's going to be fantastic, man. Fantastic. So I apologize. I'm getting a few alerts here. So if you hear a few dings, I apologize. That'll be kind of coming through. I haven't figured out how to get it off my laptop, everyone. So, well, just before we get started real quick, just want to, again, mention Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. We're a proud podcast of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Go over and check out the Rocky Mountain Sports Network Facebook page. Check out their all their social media platforms. If you haven't checked it out, there's been lots of different podcasts coming up. The Elevation 5280 Sports has been putting some stuff up there, getting you caught up on all sports, from all the sports all across the country. And, of course, again, No Huddle, getting you all caught up on college football as they're getting about ready to get started, just like our Broncos and their Denver Bronco training camp. So, all right, buddy. What you been up to, man?
Not much, just busy with work and the family, and excited for the season to start. It's football season. It's finally here.
It is. I love it. Gets his hands all warmed up, rubbed up, nice and warm, man. It's like cozy and up to the fire once the Broncos hit the field, man. Well, if anybody saw our show, we're just, hey, I wanted to talk just real quick. We got 13 teams, and it sounds like that's the final 13 teams with the different helmet. Gosh, what is the word I'm looking for? Jody, fill me in here.
The alternate uniform.
The alternate, thank you. The alternate 12-and-a-half-hour trip, man.
The cool rush.
So I was really hoping that the Broncos were going to come out with an alternate helmet. Doesn't sound like
it for 2022.
Yeah, how disappointing, man. There's been plenty of good concept art out and about, for Broncos.
Right.
I'm excited about, man. I was really hoping we'd get something, man. Did you feel we were going to be missing out this season, or were you hoping as well?
I kind of had a feeling that they were not going to change, just because they've got a lot of other things that they need to change before they worry about uniforms. Like
Fair.
Change this losing culture.
Oh, man. Shot across the bow early from Jody, man. He's ready for a change from the last 6 years. So, well, hey, our topics this week, Dan, is a lot about what that change is all about, man. We've got I was going to start off like this, man. We got a quarterback controversy, man, to start off training camp.
I'm
only joking, man. I'm only joking. Those were all the years in the past. That was certainly last year, but that's not this year, man. We've got one, our QB1 nailed in the bag. No more, hey, we don't know who's starting training camp today. Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? Is it going to be Drew Lock? With like no notification. We can put all that completely to the side, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We finally have an elite quarterback here. It's been 6 years since we've seen average QB play. So, I mean, people wanted to say Wilson had a down season last year. I mean, that's a terrific year for what we've seen the last 6 years. So,
No
I'm
kidding.
excited. So,
Yeah, and Jody, why don't you just speak to a little bit? What are your thoughts, like kind of coming into the training camp, not having that quarterback controversy? What kind of change does that make in your mind for the Broncos as they entered in day one of training camp tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.?
I mean, they got a true leader here. You don't have Team Lock, Team Bridgewater. You have Denver Broncos, and you know who your leader is. And I mean, you can see it in all the receivers' faces. I mean, they're excited now. I mean, you had guys last year that were giving up on plays that weren't in it. I mean, you got guys now that are going to run even if they know they're not getting the ball, going to run routes to the fullest now, and because of it, because of Wilson.
Yeah, I think you speak to it really well. That was the same thing in my mind. Just that leadership out there, especially like you said, as we kind of get down the road. I can just see those guys. Again, third down play, they're not giving up. I don't care if it's 3rd and 17. You know what I mean? He has the right mindset as a leader to come in there and still keep them engaged, still let them know that there's a possibility to win. And just all the little steps. Even speaking. This really hit me. And I'm sure you've seen it, but the controversy around Kyler Murray's contract.
Yeah. With whatever, he's got to have the 4 hours of tape time a week or something, watch film. That's crazy to me. I mean, Russell Wilson's putting in 4 hours a day, at least of that.
Exactly.
I mean, I look at it on both sides. I mean, the fact that he doesn't watch film and he's still playing to that level says what kind of talent he has. But it also says, what if he put in the off the field stuff like a Wilson, like a Brady, like some of these elite quarterbacks? What kind of quarterback could he really be?
Yeah. I want to have to, obviously, this isn't an exact quote, so this is kind of paraphrasing, but I was kind of listening to that, and he had a quote from last year that said, I'm just kind of a natural. I don't need to watch tape. I can just go out there and I can kind of wing it and play it and be at the top level of a game. It's like, wow. A, where's the arrogance in that? And then B, obviously not, because your team thought otherwise when they put literally a unfounded, unprecedented clause in your contract that you have to do tape time.
Yeah, I don't like that coming from the leader of my team. That, hey, we don't have to work. I'm already good enough. I don't need to work harder or do anything extra. I don't like that. And that's why you have guys like a Tom Brady. I mean, he don't have the talent that Kyler Murray has, but he also has 8 rings because he puts in the work.
Correct.
So,
even if we look at going back to Peyton Manning, especially in his later years, he didn't have the arm talent to get it done. He had to know what he was doing when he hit the field, right?
He was winning right at the line of scrimmage. He was winning pre-snap.
Correct. Pre-snap was where he got it done. So just kind of circling back again, Russell Wilson, our QB1, all of a sudden we're in that position. No longer are we worried about, how much training time, how much of a leader he is he capable, will he be able to ever get to a Super Bowl? We're talking about a guy who's won a Super Bowl, has been to Super Bowls, who is a leader, is a consummate leader, and is known so. Even as he's taken all this heat for kind of his jet setting around the world, what do you get? Seems like within a few days after that, after some jet set to Monaco or some other random place, you get some tape of him working out.
He's got the whole team in San Diego and running plays.
Exactly. So
I mean, if the reports are true, I mean, he gets 4 hours a night sleep. I mean, the other, 21 hours a day, he's eat, breathe, sleep football. So,
jeez.
I mean, what's he got? 21. He's got 21 guys on his employees that he's paying. I mean, from masseuses to quarterback coaches to people that cook for him. I mean, it's a lifestyle, and I mean, he's went all in. So I expect big things.
It's the most exciting time for us here in Broncos country, because let's face it, where we were at, last year we were thinking, can Teddy Bridgewater maybe make something of himself? Can he be maybe a possible, not long-term, but at least a short-term solution for us? We were grasping at straws. Let's face it, Broncos.
Can we just luck into a touchdown to hopefully win this game? That no more of that.
Exactly. I thought it was another big thing I saw on, it was a stat line. It was over under for the season, and they have Russell Wilson at 30.5 touchdowns.
I have him a little more, but I mean, that's a good, I'll take 30. We haven't seen 30 in what, 6 years. So
yep, that's exactly what I was going to bring.
We haven't sniffed 20
under.
So
it's been 6 years since we've seen 30 touchdowns, and we're arguing whether he's going to get 30 or 31 or 32. It just kind of speaks to where we're at here in Broncos country. Thank goodness. I think we're doing fantastic here.
They say he had a down year last year when he threw for 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,100 pass yards. I mean, that's missing 3 games. I mean, that's an incredible year with an offense or a head coach and an offensive coordinator who didn't like throwing the football.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, he was definitely a handcuffed individual, whether it was the players that were around him. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's not like even Seattle has the most dominant run game.
Right.
So, I mean, you're hoping for a Chris Carson to be healthy and put down some yards for you, but by no means.
Bringing him up to Chris Carson, 27.
What? Say it again. You broke up just for a second.
Chris Carson, he retired today. 27
Did he
years
really?
old. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I never did see why, but it's a little. I mean, you're seeing a lot of guys play 3-4 years, make that money real quick, and then they're out of here.
Yep. Get that first contract. You know what I mean? And
right.
not try to go for that second contract. So, well, very good, man. It's like I said, we're just in an exceptional place. I can't wait I'm going to be there tomorrow. Hopefully be one of the first guys rattling that gate come 9 a.m. Can't wait to see Russell Wilson go out there and really just lead this team in the next few weeks as we head through training camp and into preseason. But
yeah, it's going to be electric.
It's going to be fun. He's not the only quarterback on this roster, though, bud. We got a few others that we want to get through real quick. So we got Josh Johnson that was brought in, and we have our returning favorite, it seems like these days, and Brett Rippon.
I think a coach in waiting somewhere. I mean, that's all the reports. I mean, the next Kellen Moore. I mean, that was maybe not good enough to be a franchise starter, but
yeah,
I mean, knows football, grew up in football. I mean, his uncle Mark Rippon. So I mean, it was in his blood. So
yep, it's you went to one quarterback turned coach, but I was thinking of another one, and Mr. Gary Kubiak.
Yeah,
we never really expected anything of Gary to take the field and make sure that we brought home 4 or 5 wins off of a Gary arm. But my goodness, we kept him around until he went from wearing those pads to coaching those guys in pads. And I think that's what's going to be really interesting, I think, in this cycle. If you remember last year, Brett Rippon, we had to steal him back. He was almost gone. I forget who tried to sign him. Gosh,
I don't remember, but they had to.
Indianapolis.
That's why he ended up staying on the 53 the rest of the year.
Yeah, we had to get him back, put him on the 53. So it'll be interesting. Once again, there's not a lot of teams that always carry 3 QBs. Again, we're not expecting Brett Rippon to go out there and necessarily take over QB1 anytime soon. He doesn't necessarily have the talent. Do you think that there's room enough for Brett Rippon as a QB3 on this roster this year?
I don't have Denver
out there watching. If you want to comment in on this too, please feel free.
I don't have Denver keeping 3, but I think Brett Rippon has a good chance of being the number 2. I mean, he's cheaper than what Josh Johnson is. And just the the way he is, everyone speaks about him as being a coach and that type of thing.
Mhm.
And they've kept him around for a reason. I mean, it would have been really easy just to cut him a long time ago and move on. They've done that with enough quarterbacks. Why is this one? Why him? Why does he keep sticking around?
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you in the fact that, I think I don't know if this, we're, like I said, we're one of those teams that keeps 3 QBs year in and year out, and we're one of the anomalies anymore. Typically,
the reason I don't think 3, I mean, we're kind of past the COVID thing. You don't need that 3rd, 4th QB just hiding, not doing anything because of COVID. For one, I mean that's a big reason right there, I think.
Yeah. It's just something that the Broncos have done a lot longer than COVID, though. And this is where my concern comes in. I don't think Brett Rippon is the guy you want if for some reason, like last year, Russell Wilson goes down, right? If you have to put him out there for 3 or 4 games, especially come the end of the year, I don't know if I want Brett Rippon to be that guy. At the same time, I don't know if
I want Josh, right?
I don't know. I don't know if Brett Rippon is going to be expelled off of this roster just because of where we were at last year when he was almost gone and we had to sign him and put him on the 53 in order to bring him back, because I think we think of him more as a coach for the future, but we want to keep him here. So I'm really perplexed on what this quarterback room looks like. Maybe it's just 3, and maybe we just end up having to talk about Josh Johnson, because I know you have some questions there. But I don't know.
One of the reasons I think, too, as well, is Russell Wilson's missed 3 games in his whole career. I mean, he is a durable quarterback. And even last year, I mean, he had a serious hand injury, and he came back. I mean, he'll admit it, came back early, but that was because that's the competitor he is. So if the history repeats itself, you won't need your 2nd string, let alone your 3rd string. So
I agree. I just would hate to be in that position with playoffs on the line, and all of a sudden you're in that position of you really don't have a quarterback you can trust. Speaking of quarterbacks you can trust, Josh Johnson, you were saying maybe not so hot. We were talking a little bit before. You're saying maybe not so hot on Josh Johnson.
I mean, I'm kind of mixed on him. I mean, he probably fits this offense better. He's a more mobile quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see a lot of bootleg type things with this and scrambling around a little bit more, and he brings that where Brett Rippon does not. But he's also on his 9th, 8th team. So, I mean, there's a reason that he's on 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I mean, but even last year, even in Baltimore, he had a couple good games. So, I mean, is it one for a game here or a game there? Could you trust him? Yeah. But I'm not really feeling very hot if Russell Wilson goes down. I mean, for any of these guys to play 16.
Do you think there's any possibility that we even just end up picking somebody else up out there?
No, I don't think so. Just because of the Russell Wilson. I mean, history shows he stays healthy. I mean, last year that was a fluke injury, hitting your hand on top of the helmet like that. And I mean, he should have missed a lot more games probably, but he fought back and worked hard to come back from that. So I am not worried in the least of watching or seeing Russell Wilson go down. So he knows how to avoid the hits and stay healthy. I mean, he's proved that. So
there you go. Well, if I'm going to make a prediction on this quarterback room, obviously I'm putting Russell Wilson QB1. I think that we have Josh Johnson as our QB2, and I don't know if we keep Brett Rippon around, or maybe we try to test to see if we can, again, just put him on practice squad and keep him around, laying around.
Right.
But I don't think we dive in after him again this year. That's my prediction. If we can keep him on as the 3rd QB, we keep him on as the 3rd QB. But if for some reason he's gone because somebody else signs him, I think this is the year that we let him go.
Yeah, Denver. I mean, they paid him enough that it makes sense that he's going to be your number 2. And he does fit this offense a little bit better. I mean, he is a more mobile quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's scheme fit. I think that's really what you're looking for. Really, you're just looking for that guy that can come in and perform on a spot or two if need be. Heaven forbid, even if it's Russell Wilson is pulled off the field for concussion protocol, you know what I mean, for a few plays or something like that. You just want somebody who can go out there and can continue to move that offense in the same way that Russell Wilson has. And unfortunately, like I said, as great as a coach as he might be, I hope we can keep him around. It seems like we have invested a ton in Brett Rippon, but I don't think he's worth the value of maybe keeping a third quarterback on this roster, or again trying to pull him back from a competitor and get him back into the room.
I think it'll be a good battle. I don't think you'll see a lot of Russell Wilson this preseason, but in the end, I think I agree with you. I think Josh Johnson wins this number 2 spot.
Very good, man. Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, for me, Josh Johnson was a name that I still remember when he first came out and was actually somewhat intriguing as he was drafted by Tampa Bay, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Okay. So I was kind of intrigued and wanted to really see what his career became. Well, his career didn't become much, not after his first year in Tampa Bay. He kind of was a backup that kind of moved all around this league. But a lot of people do say that he does have the mind. He's a smart individual. He understands the schemes. He's capable of picking it up. You kind of put that together with some of what his talent looks like, and I think you got something that is never going to be Russell Wilson, but can mimic it quite well. So,
and he's done something right. I mean, he's stuck around this long, so
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys that would like to hold a clipboard for
exactly
8-9 years. So you still have to have something. You still have to show something in order to be that guy that is held on that roster. And he's.
I mean, you take someone like a Chase Daniels. He has like 3 career starts, and he's banked $50 million. I mean,
it's amazing.
Props to that guy.
No kidding. And that was a guy. Here's another guy that I was like, dang, I kind of want to see him hit the field.
Right.
You never get a chance to see Chase Daniels. And don't get me wrong, the few times that I've seen him hit the field, let's just hope he wasn't prepared.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't look like he was. So.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, very good, man. Again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be so much more fun than last year. And the prior 6 years, we've got Russell Wilson in camp. It's going to change everything as far as that's concerned, buddy. So we're going to be all set as far as that's concerned. So, hey, I'm doing this on the fly, but let's just take a little sponsor break. I just want to talk about Willow Seasonings and Blends. Our good buddy Dave, Colorado veteran, owns Willow Seasonings and Blends, is doing fantastic. Used to have the 4th and 99 show over on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Fantastic Denver Bronco fan. If you need another reason to go out there and support him, but willowseasonings.com, you can get all your rubs. He's bringing on sauces too. He's to the point now he's winning award shows in Kansas City for #1 rub, which if anybody knows Kansas City, they know their barbecue. It's not some place you're going to like pull one over on their pull anything over on them. So again, head on over to willowseasonings.com. If you type in new 15 NEW15, that's new 15 into the promo code, you get 15% off. If you jump in and also put Denver Bronco Roundup in the comments, I'd appreciate it. Jody would appreciate it. Gives us a little bit of credit as well, and lets Dave know that we're out there beating the drum for him. So, like I said, willowseasonings.com, check it out. They are fantastic, man. They'll as their tagline goes, they'll spice up your life, man.
Yeah.
So, well, all right, man. We got one more. We made it through the entire roster. Once we get done with this, buddy, we have one more room that we need to talk about. Maybe saving one of the better rooms for last, and that's running backs, buddy.
You know, besides O-line, I think this is the most intriguing battle.
Ooh.
I mean, you have 2 running backs that are capable RB1s. Are we going to split time this year? Are we going to see Javonte Williams take a leap forward? And Or is Melvin Gordon gonna? I mean, a lot of questions.
A lot of questions, right? You're right. We have quite possibly one of the best tandems out there in the running back world across the NFL, and it's been said. When you
Right.
look at Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, you start to put two other names together on a roster that equal that type of running back power, and most teams can't do it. They might have one, but they're not going to have two.
They totaled 1,800 yards last year and 12 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty incredible, really, splitting time like that.
And not only that, not only are the stats good as far as the run yardage, the yards per rush, the touchdowns, everything they put on, the touches they put on the field, but both of these guys, we are quite lucky. These guys are some of the best blocking running backs in the league as well. And for a guy like Javonte Williams, a rookie, to come in and be able to start nailing that in year one, I was looking over some tape before I hit the road, and I was looking at week 2 versus Jacksonville. And my goodness, I mean, week 2, this guy is putting on the blocks right out of the gate, man. Taking that linebacker on right up the hole, stuffing him up. Part of the reason we won that game was just because of the blocking capability we have out of these running backs as well.
And that doesn't show up in the stats, but that's huge, and it's going to be huge this year. Russell Wilson is known for holding the ball a little longer, scrambling to make big plays, and I mean, you got a running back that's not afraid to block the whole time. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. So this is you hit something really big right on the head. We've been in this kind of mold, the Vic Fangio mold now for a few years, where it really was a 50-50 back type of situation. I don't care if you're going back to, Royce Freeman, or if you're talking about Philip Lindsay, or if you're talking about any of these guys, right? We've always been in a 50-50 situation. And what you brought up, I think, is a good point, a point that I wanted to bring up. What if Nathaniel Hackett and Outen come out and they're like, you know what? That's not how we do things. We have specialized backs for specialized things. It could be something completely different than what we've seen. I think a lot of people are just underneath that perception. And I think there's certainly a possibility that they're absolutely right, that it's a 50-50 type of situation. It's what happens across the NFL in a lot of different locker rooms. But there's also that possibility that maybe the staff looks at these running backs just a little bit different, and maybe they want to feature a back in a game against this particular opponent, or, hey, we're going to run them for the first half for sure. We just don't know. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how these running backs get their touches throughout the year.
And Vic had no feel for the game. I mean, if Javonte's busting big runs or Melvin Gordon 4 or 5 at a time, it was switch them up. There was no running back getting in a groove. And that is the one thing that worried me bringing Melvin Gordon back. If Javonte gets hot in 3 or 4 games in a row, is he okay taking a back seat? I mean, he's been an RB1 throughout his whole career. I've never heard anything of him being a bad teammate, but I mean, he is. I mean, that worries me a little bit. Someone that put up a decent season like they did last year just to take a back seat to a guy, I guess, if you went down the stats, he did outperform him, minus the fumbles.
Minus the fumbles. He's not going to outlive like 2 fumbles last year for sure. I know that. So,
I mean, people can say whatever they want on Melvin Gordon. I mean, and I know that they're huge. You take away, I mean, he had 6 of them. You take away a handful of those fumbles for splitting time like that. I mean, he's still maybe not a top 10 running back, but he's right there still. I mean, top 10 in, I mean, he was top 15 in rush yards, top 10 in TDs still. So, and that's splitting time.
Yeah. I think it's really funny. I don't care if it's the fans or even the local media or the national media. It does not seem like Melvin Gordon gets the the justification he deserves, in my opinion. You know, he is
those fumbles. I mean, I'm the same way. It's got to be the fumbles because.
Well, I would say that, but I think Broncos country wasn't all that happy the first day he was signed necessarily. Before he
I agree with that.
You know, I mean, I think there's
They overpaid. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Philip Lindsay was what everybody wanted. Local kid. You know, his attitude, his mindset. He was just a good kid. He was able to put up 1,000 yards. He was able to go to,
Right.
go to the Pro Bowl, the whole 9 yards, and then you bring in Melvin Gordon, and he comes from the Los Angeles Chargers. And there was if you look into it, a lot of Melvin Gordon is mad. He doesn't want to have to split time with Eckler in San Diego. There was a lot of this, and then we brought him on. Well, come to find out that wasn't true. That he had no problem. He actually would have loved to stay in San Diego.
Right.
It was one of those agent type of things in which he got rid of his agent after that happened. So,
and they had an emerging young running back there too. So
exactly right. And he was willing to be part of that tandem. He wanted to stay there and be him and Eckler. I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think he was put down because of where he came from, who he was pushing out the door.
Right.
People don't, especially here in Broncos country, guys got to wake up. I don't care who gets the ball and who puts those touchdowns on the scoreboard, and who has. If we're talking two guys that are splitting 50-50 time or 60-40 or whatever it is, for all I care, it's a bad year for Javonte Williams, and Melvin Gordon goes off, and we continue to just run this offense the way it's supposed to be ran.
No, I totally agree.
Gordon a little bit of credit, folks. Let's get on board. Let's give this guy some props, in my opinion.
Yep. No, I totally agree. I mean, but some of these fans have soured. I mean, take Kansas City game, for example. I mean, he fumbled right there at the goal line.
Yep.
At the Eagles game when he fumbled, and was that Teddy? I mean, and Teddy got a bad rap for trying to make a tackle, but Gordon did the same thing. He wasn't trying to tackle. So, I mean, fumbling right there. I mean, it's like the fumbles are at the worst time. It's just or the Washington game. I mean, he fumbled like 2 times in a row, and it was like
no.
But I mean, but there are things like we talked about earlier. The blocking. I mean, that doesn't show up on a stat sheet, but at the end of the day, when Russell Wilson's standing upright, I mean, you can thank your running back for picking up a blitzer or somebody. I mean, that's important. And that's one of the reasons Philip Lindsay is not here. I mean, he was not a good blocker. He was little and he was not a good blocker. Not even, and I'm not going to go into ripping on him, but he was a horrible receiver. So, I mean, there were things he did well, but if he was not a Colorado kid and from CU, people would feel different.
Yeah. No, it would have been interesting, like you said, if that kid would have came out of Vanderbilt, you know what I mean, or something like that. Just been on the roster. We have wanted him so badly and pulled for him so much, and the whole nine. So, thank you for being on my side. I feel like anytime I bring up Philip Lindsay, I'm like talking bad about John Elway or Peyton Manning over here sometimes on our podcast, man.
I get the same thing with Dalton Reisner. I mean, he had a good rookie season, but besides that, I mean, his last 2 years were not good, in my opinion. and that is one of the reasons that I think Moody has a really good shot at starting here. So
I agree. So we have a few other running backs. I don't think there's any reason that Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams loses RB1 or RB2 or 1A or 1B or whatever position you want to put that at. But we do have maybe some debate about who has an RB3 position. What are your thoughts there, man? We've got a few.
We've seen some little sprinklings of Mike Boone last year, and I mean, he's a George Payton guy from Minnesota, and he plays pretty good special teams, and I think in the end of the day, I think he makes this roster as an RB3, and I think you actually get to see him a little bit more third downs, where Vic had 11 guys, and that's what we rolled with, and I think he'll get some playing time this year, and I don't expect huge things, but I expect decent things when he gets on the field. I mean, the small little glimpse that we've seen in the Monday night game versus Kansas, or Monday night game versus Kansas City, he had some big runs. And
Yeah.
But I can also see he could be a trade piece. I mean, George Payton is trying to recruit some draft picks, and we've got an undrafted guy and a second-year guy that, from all reports, are looking good too. So
yeah, we have Mike Boone that obviously came in last year. He looked fantastic in training camp last year. Everyone was oohing and on over him. Came out through preseason, looked pretty dang good. Then comes out,
had that little setback with the injury, and I think that derailed everything. He's hurt.
Yep,
kind of just derailed the whole season for him.
And then at the same time, not just it, but he got hurt like I don't know, second week last year. It was pretty early. And then we had Demaria Crockett come in, and he got a little bit of playing time last year. And the funny thing is, he actually spent a little bit of time on Green Bay's roster prior to coming to the Broncos. So when it comes to our coaching staff, they just happen to inherit a guy that they know on top of it. So I don't know how that's going to play in. And you'll have to, I don't have my stats up right in front of me. I don't know if you have the running back there, our last running back that we're talking about, the guy that we brought in this offseason as a rookie, but he also has some returning capabilities as well. And could be an outsider for the return game. So even though we have 1 and 2 all locked up, I tell you what, that third spot could get just a little bit interesting, in my opinion. You have a guy like I said, Demaria Crockett, who came in last year, did pretty well, showed up in some spots, actually got some playing time in games last year. So it could be, again, these guys, we don't have a whole lot of investment in any one of these three guys. We do have the biggest investment is George Payton bringing in Mike Boone. That was his first guy. That was the guy that he brought in from Minnesota. I still remember one because people are like, oh, great, this guy's going to just bring in everybody from Minnesota.
Right, yep. I think special teams is going to play a big role in this. Who is going to be one of your better special teams players? Because Gordon and Williams, they're not playing special teams. So Gordon for sure is not. So
and I don't think you'd want to put,
I don't think Williams is either. So
you just wouldn't allow him to, right? So I think you're exactly right. I think it does boil down a little bit to that special team spot. Can Mike Boone come out there and be that, because he was doing really well last year? That's where he was kind of showing up in preseason, especially was some of his special teams plays. He blew up a Green Bay Packer, if I remember correctly.
Which one of these RBs can be the next Terrell Davis and make this roster on special teams? One big hit.
Yep, one big hit, baby. One big hit, even if it's in Japan.
Yeah,
that was a hit heard across the Pacific, man. I remember it was yesterday watching that game. That was just
the whole thing is great about it, because I'll never forget when he does his interviews. I didn't think I was going to play, so I was eating hot dogs and on the side, and then they were like, "Get in."
I had no idea. I didn't ever hear that.
I had no idea. Right? Yeah, and then went down there and made that big hit, and the rest is history.
And busted him out, started calling him chili dog after that.
Yeah.
No, it'll be, like I said, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, that RB3 spot is a big spot. I mean, again, in a 2-back system, if any of these guys get dinged up, they're can't go 1 week. That RB3 has to come in there, and he has to be able to spell, especially if it's anything like we saw last year, where we're truly a 50-50 to where they have the exact same amount of carries come the end of the year, right?
Is that what you see this year, a 50-50, or do you see someone taking the lead?
I'm hoping exactly what you said, and I didn't even think about it until you said it. So I'm giving you all the kudos and all the props here, buddy. I hope and wish, and maybe even get down on a knee, that if someone starts running the ball and looking good, you don't go, nope, that was your series. Come on out.
Yeah.
It's your turn, buddy. Go back in. For heaven's sakes, if Melvin Gordon is going off, keep Melvin Gordon in.
Right the hot hand.
And if Javonte Williams is going off, same thing. But there's no reason when these guys, like you said, will go out there and their 3 touches that they got averaged probably 8 to 12 yards in total.
Right.
I mean, across these 3 touches, and you're like, no, I think we're going to reel him back in and we're going to put out the other guy and just cool him right off. Man, I tell you, it doesn't matter if it's the quarterback or the running back. It's been said for years. Man, I need to get my motor going. Once I get going, you can't stop me. Once I get going, you can't stop me. Well, let them get going. Let them move, man. Let them matriculate down the field a little bit, you know?
If I was going to make a prediction, I see kind of a 60-40 Javonte. We're trying to let him get the hot hand and get going, not this, here's a couple Gordon, here's a couple Williams. No one can get in the flow.
Yeah.
You can't get in the flow. You got to give one guy some of the reps and more of the reps.
I agree. I think, it could be just one of those feeling out though things. Once a guy goes in there and you're kind of you're spelling them back and forth just a little bit, and then this guy, all of a sudden one of them starts taking off. And I think if that's the case, you just stay with that guy. They're having 2 backs of that quality. I don't think you just want to go ahead and just keep one off the field either, right? You need to find a way to continue to keep them involved. You know what I mean? Even if it's just, hey, let's give this guy a breather, and he takes a couple plays. But at the same time, what happens if you give that guy a breather and all of a sudden that other guy has a couple of big plays? You know what I mean? Stay with the hand, and I don't know how it's going to play out. It could be a 60 for Javonte. It could be a 60 for Melvin at the end of the year.
I just don't want to see him ride one of them in the ground while you got one guy just sitting there. I mean, it's a long season. You're now playing 17, hopefully more than 17, counting playoffs, and I think they're going to rely on this run game for a while. So,
you're not the Tennessee.
It's going to take some time. Yeah, correct. We look at what they've done with Derrick Henry. They've rode him hard for the last couple of years, and look at last year. I mean, major foot injury. I mean, you got to keep. I mean, running back is one of the most physical positions, and that's why running like a running back past your 30s, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and it's more and more reason that we see this running back by committee. And if you're lucky enough to have 2 fantastic guys, you may be set. Again, even look at McCaffrey in Carolina. Fantastic rookie year. I mean, if he could have kept the pace of what he did his rookie year, my goodness, this guy would be all world. He would be everything. But no, that beats a guy down. You can't take those type of hits and be the only guy out there taking them all that time and expect to hold up.
Look at McCaffrey. Look at Zeke. I mean, guys that they fed that are now starting to break down a little bit. I mean, but I also see the other side of it. I mean, Javonte's young, and I can see where the people say run him into the ground because you're only going to have him 4 or 5 years. So, I can see that side of it, but it doesn't make sense when you've got 2, more than capable RB1s on this roster to run one into the ground just because.
Exactly. If Derrick Henry had a capable counterpart, someone that was equal to him, do you think the Tennessee Titans wouldn't go ahead and split time? You're dang right they would. Dang right they would. You know what I mean? But if you have such an immense talent like that, and what looks like below it is nothing in comparison, it's tough to bring that guy off the field. We have 2 amazing running backs that can do everything. They can catch. Both of them can catch. Both of them can run. Both of them. Yeah,
you can look all over. Alvin Kamara, I mean, he was hurt last year. They run him into the ground. It's not only just running. I mean, they're out in the running routes and catching balls. I mean, that's all. I mean, they're just running them into the ground.
Yep.
And
yeah.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that happen with Javonte. I think he can be a elite running back, and I'd like to see him here for more than 2 great seasons, and then he's hurt because you ran him in the ground.
And let's face it, we're pretty dang lucky. Once upon a time, we thought we were pretty dang special and that we could pick up a running back in any round and plug and play, and he was going to be fantastic. And then we went on a run where that was definitely not the case.
Right.
It didn't matter. Royce Freeman and Noshawn Moreno and all
Monte Ball the day. Yeah.
So now, like you said, hey, we scored this time. You know, we got a second-round guy. Wasn't the highest we've been drafting running backs, but we finally scored. And we got Melvin Gordon, a more than capable guy that's back there right alongside him. They want to be that 1-2 punch. He keeps they keep promoting that pretty big on social media. So, like you said, I don't think it'll be an issue. If Javonte gets off and gets running, I think Melvin Gordon is understanding enough that he's more than happy to support him. That's my hope. That's my thought. We'll just have to see exactly how that plays out come season, though.
And you're gonna need both of them. I mean, you are. You're gonna need them. You're gonna need playmakers. So.
Oh, I agree. Like you said, I don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt if all of a sudden we ride a hot hand. You know, let's face it. If all of a sudden you come out in the second half and all of a sudden the guy seems like he's just chugging, so you just stay with him for the rest of that game, that can be a little defeating for a guy who's used to taking 50-50 balls. I don't care who it is on what roster. So,
and I'm hoping winning cures all. And what if you do have some hard feelings, I'm hoping winning puts those to bed. So,
well, yeah, and we kind of going full circle. Very beginning of our show, what were we talking about? How Russell Wilson and the leadership that he's brought into the Denver Broncos organization and the mindset that he's putting on all these different players, I think we do have that ability. Would we have had that last year or the year before with a Teddy Bridgewater or a Drew Lock or a Joe Flacco or Case Keenum to keep this team together? You know, when there's maybe some feuding going on within a room, I don't know if you would be able to, but I do have a little bit more faith in Russell Wilson that, again, with bringing those guys on the field, keeping their mindset is the right thing. And like you said, winning cures all. And I think that's another thing Russell Wilson's going to bring for us, right?
You know, and some of these older veterans, Melvin Gordon, Kareem Jackson, you haven't heard the Flacco line of, I'm here for myself, not here to mentor Drew Lock. I mean, you haven't heard that. So,
nope.
I mean, that's a good sign. So,
all right. Last thing I'll do, I'll just hit real quick before we wrap up our show, buddy, because I think we've kind of nailed all our positions now. I did put out just a few different polls. I didn't actually get any tabulations. Maybe my poll didn't look that good. I didn't get as much feedback as I had in the past. But just really quick, we have our AFC West rivals. We have obviously the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders.
All right.
I kind of put up a poll of, hey, do you see them kind of top third, 1st through 10, middle third, 11th through 21st, or bottom third, 22nd through 32nd? Where do you think these guys end up? How would you rank these guys, our rivals that we're going to be going up against in the Chargers, in the Raiders, in the Chiefs? Where do they sit in this league?
Lately, maybe in the bottom because Denver has not been holding up to their end of the.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Where would you, for instance, where would you rate the Chiefs overall? Are they a 1 through 10 team?
I think they're a 1 through 10 team for sure.
Okay.
I think you probably have one. All three of them are probably a 1 through 15 team. I mean,
okay.
2 of them made the playoffs last year. As much as you want to dog the Raiders, they still made the playoffs last year.
So I'll be in agreement with you right there. Chiefs, definitely a 1 through 10 team. How about Chargers?
On paper, probably 1 through 10, but they have I've been saying this for a while. They have yet to win anything. So until they win something, middle of the pack. I mean, you've got to win.
It sounded like an old coach up there. We play to win, the game.
I mean, I don't even like with Herbert. I don't know why that gets overlooked. I mean, you can put up nice stats and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you're not leading your team to the playoffs or period, I mean, what was it for?
Yeah. I understand. I'm probably still going to put them in that 1 through 10. I'm not going to put them in that mid pack.
On paper, for sure. I mean, their roster is stacked. It's loaded.
I think it's just one of those things where, he does have all that talent. He does have all that capability. He just needs to have everything around him in order to make that possible. And they were so close last year if they weren't, again, giving up so many points. It wasn't that he was putting up yards but not points or touchdowns or whatever have you. He was at near the top. It was his defense that really let him down. So
you think they have a head coach that will learn from his, whatever you want to call it, taking way too many chances, going forward inside your own 5 and, stuff like that? I mean, that's just crazy.
Let's hope so, right? I mean, obviously he has to. You know what I mean? That is another part of the equation. He is a risk taker. I mean, hey, as a Broncos fan, I love it when I see him doing stupid stuff like this. But you're absolutely right. It is an impediment for them trying to again reach that pinnacle. But dang, like you said, everything on paper. If you look at the quarterback, you look at running backs, you look at receivers, you look at what they did on their defense. I mean, they look like a team that should be able to put it together and be a top 10 team, and hopefully their coach doesn't get in the way. So
right. Well, hopefully he does for Denver's sake.
Well, yeah, I mean,
right.
From my prediction standpoint, yes,
exactly.
From where I want them at the end of the year, at sitting as far as a record, have all the mistakes you want, buddy. So that brings me to the last one. That's our Las Vegas Raiders, our rival Las Vegas Raiders. How would you rank them?
I'll probably put them in that second tier.
Okay.
But I mean, they still made the playoffs last year, and you can say whatever. We didn't. They did. Now they have one big question mark too. Their head coach, and I mean, has he learned from his mistakes of the past?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
mean, Denver knows all too well what kind of mistakes those are.
Yes, 100%. Well, I haven't seen him trade away Carr yet, so that's a good sign for him. So, that being said, though, I would have to probably agree with you. I'd probably put them in the mid tier, but this is the reason I kind of put this out there just in general, Jody. Is look at the competition that we're talking about within the AFC West.
Yeah, the West is loaded.
A lot of people are coming out there and they're saying, with the addition of Russell Wilson, the Broncos should be Super Bowl contenders. And I agree with the talent that we have. It seems like we went one piece away from really making a run at the Super Bowl. But I also just want to prepare everybody. It's a heck of a path to try to get there, especially if you have to play these AFC West teams, man. They are stacked when you're talking about 2, maybe 3 in the top 10. Well, we'd like to be there too. So are we talking about all 4 teams being in the top 10?
Can you see all 4 teams making the playoffs? I mean, with the third wild card, I mean, that would be wild.
I tell you what, we would have to have every single team would have to have some good records outside of the division. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, because I can see this division cannibalizing itself, really.
And that's my point, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. I mean, the Raiders play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs play the Chargers, and the Chargers play the Broncos, and then the Broncos play the Raiders. You know what I mean? It's like you can literally just start piling up losses against your own rivals, you know what I mean, and start dragging yourself down. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Geez, I'd love to be in the NFC West all of a sudden. It seems like that would be the place to be, maybe,
Right.
So, well, Jody,
I got one. What did you think about Julio Jones to Tampa today?
Okay, I was driving 12 and a half hours on the road. Julio Jones to Tampa Bay?
To Tampa Bay.
Amazing, right?
The rich get richer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have told me that it was the Rams, and I could have been right along the same par, right? So,
I mean, when you have Julio as your 3, maybe 4th wide receiver, I mean, you're pretty loaded.
do you think that he still has it? Do you think that Julio can still bring it to the field?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, 2 years in Tennessee with an average to above average quarterback in Tannehill, he didn't put up great numbers. But his last year in Atlanta, he still was a 1,300-yard receiver. So,
I agree. Was
it a quarterback problem? I mean, he's fought some injuries. Is he over that? Is Father Time catching up? I mean, there's a lot of. I would say it's a good signing for Tampa. A lot of reward, no risk.
Oh really? Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, you can stack them up deep, man. And then just see if it plays out, how it plays out. So
right, you're not expecting him to come in and be your wide receiver 1 or 2. So
correct. Which is obviously where he sat in Tennessee, really. You know what I mean? And that's what they were hoping for. And to be honest, I know that fantasy football is around the corner for everybody. But he was on my fantasy team, so. Believe me, I was watching him not only in the
same here,
but actually
set the bench a lot of weeks.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Just even watching him like in the games, it's just like he did not look right in Tennessee. So I don't wish it bad upon anybody. I don't know if he still has it. I don't know where he's at in his health, in his mind, But I'll tell you what, teaming up with TB12, that cures a lot of ills for a lot of different people throughout the years.
That definitely can't hurt. So,
yep. Well, buddy, I think we should call it a show.
Yeah, it was a good show tonight. Have fun tomorrow at training camp. I mean, I expect big things.
Yeah.
Ready for a packed house.
Me too, man. I'm excited. First time ever going to training camp. Like I said, I hope to be rattling those gates, being the first one in line come 9 a.m. tomorrow. Guys, I'm and Jody, I don't know what I'm gonna be coming across as these next 9 or so days play out. But if I got anything, I'm going to be trying to bring it here to Broncos country and to the Denver Bronco Roundup, getting it out to all our listeners, watchers, likers, and subscribers. And might just ask you to jump on and talk a little bit about what we got going on too.
Yep, that works.
All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for jumping on, watching the Denver Bronco Roundup. Again, proud podcast of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Go over there and check out everything they have going on. 5280 Sports. They have the No Huddle. They got obviously the Denver Bronco Roundup. They got lots of stuff. All your breaking news for all your Colorado sports always coming on there. And then of course you can always go over the Denver Bronco Roundup itself and
right
on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and you name it. We're kind of all over the place as well. So. Well, thank you very much.
It's football season, and I can't wait.
I can't wait either, buddy, man. I can't wait. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I don't even know what to expect, but I'm expecting great things.
Should be fun.
It should be a fantastic time. So, again, thanks, everybody. Appreciate you jumping on, watching, listening, liking, subscribing. Me and Jody will see you very, very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.